On tonight's show, we have not one, not two, but three amazing ladies with three amazing stories. It's all about life after divorce tonight on Rob's Inner Circle. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Rob's Inner Circle, broadcasting live on my personal Facebook page and the Bobby Short Shorts YouTube channel and the Rob's Inner Circle Twitch account. Thank you to everyone for tuning in to what is going to be an absolutely delightful show. We have three amazing guests tonight. We want to start off the show by giving out a huge shout out to the usual, the amazing producer of Rob's Inner Circle, Jenny Duhame, and to the podcast techie of Rob's Inner Circle, the equally amazing Patty Saragosa. Tonight, we have a very special honorable mention because our very own Jenny Duhame, the lovable and extremely talented Jenny Duhame, producer of Rob's Inner Circle, also producer of Noon Hour Out of the Box that you can watch on the Bobby Short Shorts every Wednesday at noon. Well, our producer Jenny has participated this past weekend in the semifinals of the biggest singing competition in the Montreal Chinese community with a song from the Beijing Opera entitled Farewell, My Concubine. And a word of honorable mention in itself is that she is the only non-Chinese participant, and she has done so well. So on behalf of myself, Patty, and all of the viewers here in Rob's Inner Circle, including our guests, good luck, Jen. Yes, you got this. You can go all the way. We wanted to give also a little shout out to the Daily Struggles sitcom, which is airing right now on the Roku TV channel. Actually, that's the Roku streaming service, and you can catch that on the Rise Up TV channel. You can download the Roku app on your smart devices, or you can get the stick on Amazon, where you can watch the Roku streaming service for as little as $30. For all of you interested in getting the merch that we have available for you for Rob's Inner Circle, Daily Struggles, Noon Hour Out of the Box, and Esther's Breeze, you can get all of that. And this is all thanks to our collaborative effort with our good friend Vinny the Hat Gargano. You can get all of our merch on his website, 514brandingco.com. That's 514brandingco.com. We invite you to subscribe to the Bobby Short Shorts YouTube channel, where you can click onto the playlist and go watch all of our previous episodes, notably of Rob's Inner Circle. Go ahead and give us some nice blue thumbs. Give us some nice comments. You want to share, subscribe to Bobby Short Shorts. It was called Bobby Short Shorts. Actually, it was changed to Bobby's Short Shorts. That's what I just said, right? Bobby Short Shorts. Why am I repeating myself here? Anyways, subscribe to Bobby's Short Shorts, and you want to hit that notification bell so that you're going to be the first to know every time there's a new production coming out. Well, folks, it's that time once again. It's time to let out the steam, guys. Want to sit back, relax. Take a nice deep breath. You want to exhale. Kick your feet up in the corner of the table. Sit back, open up a nice kokanee beer directly from BC. It's a little shout out to the best beer in the world tonight. And you want to let us carry the load. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to bring three amazing guests tonight. Without further ado, please help us welcome Jennifer ATERNINO, SHELSEY JARVIS, and Cristina CANAS. Girls, welcome to Rob's Inner Circle. Thank you so much for being here. Such a pleasure to have three amazing women. You're each talented in your own respect. So we want to start off the show. We got three amazing guests. We want to start off the show here with Jennifer. She can't stay with us too long. Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for having me, Rob. I'm a divorce coach and family mediator here in Toronto, but I service people throughout Ontario. And I really started this off as a passion project because I was interested in helping people going through divorce and separation, but more specifically, people who have children. I wanted to help them get through the process with their children being as unaffected as possible.
Okay, you also have two websites. One is called divorcingtoday.com and the other one, mychildrenandme.com. So can you tell us a little bit about the websites and what services you offer there as well?
Sure. Well, mychildrenandme.com is my website. That's where people can contact me and find out about my services. Divorcingtoday.com is a side project that I started with a colleague of mine. We speak to lawyers, financial professionals, people in the industry that can help while going through separation and divorce. And the reason why this is so beneficial is because when people start the process, they don't know where to go or where to turn. And there's a lot of people who Google what to do going through divorce, who to contact. And on that show, it's a podcast where we interview different professionals where now you can put a face to the name. So instead of Googling best lawyer in Toronto, you can view the lawyers that we have had the opportunity to interview and get a feel for how they are, what services they offer, and how they can be beneficial in your specific case.
Well, you also host a podcast up in Toronto over there. So what's the podcast all about? First of all, is it on Facebook? You have it on YouTube? Where can we find the podcast? What's the name of the podcast and what is it that you talk about?
So divorcingtoday.com is the podcast. So that's the one with all of the different professionals that help and explain who they are and help the people going through the process. And I have another page on Facebook called Step by Step Family Solutions. And that page is more for people who are going through the process and want to meet like-minded people who are also going through it, ask questions, because I have several professionals that are a part of the page. So they can ask questions to a lawyer, they can ask questions to a financial specialist and get answers that would lead them in the right direction. So that's Step by Step Family Solutions. Divorcingtoday.com is the podcast with the interviews with the professionals, and My Children and Me is my personal website that talks about my personal services and how to contact me.
So do your clients come to you after separation or before or during? And when is the best time for them to engage with you?
Well, that's a great question because my clients have come to me from all different stages. Some people come to me before they've told their spouse that they're going to separate. Some come to me to ask how I would be able to help them break the news to their children. Other people are going through the process and they're not able to come up with a parenting agreement. So I help with that, and we go through all the different aspects of it to make sure that they are fully prepared for the next steps. And some people come to me after the divorce and they say, it's just really difficult to move on and move forward. How am I going to leave the hurt and resentful feelings that I'm feeling and move forward into a better life? So pretty much any time during the process is when I've had clients reach out to me.
Okay, in relationships, they say that opposites attract. Now, if you want to go deep and think about that, when you're saying opposites attract, what are these opposites exactly that attract?
Well, that would be probably more of a question for a dating coach, but I'll tell you from my experience that people who are lacking things from their own personal life is something that they're searching for. So if somebody's looking for someone to be more dominant and aggressive because they're more passive, that's usually the opposites that they're attracted to because that's something that they're aspiring to be like.
And when you have someone who's coming from a failed relationship, the pattern seems to be that what they're looking for is for the exact opposite of what they had in that relationship. It's always about the opposites. When it's working, you like the opposite, and when it's not working, you want the opposite as well. So can you reiterate on that? What is it exactly that someone who's had, let's say, I'll give you an example, someone who had an alcoholic wife, well, he wants a wife that is not alcoholic the next time around. So
I would assume that people who don't have an alcoholic husband or wife don't look for an alcoholic husband or wife. But I think that when you're in a marriage and you're lacking something, let's say for communication, or you're lacking someone who really likes to joke around with you, or you're lacking just something in your life that you're really looking for that your partner isn't giving you, when you get out of that specific relationship, you're going to be searching for a partner who is going to give you that dynamic, because that's what has been lacking in the past relationship that didn't work.
I'm sure I'm going to be getting like a big yes for this question over here, but hey, I'm going to say it anyway as a formality. Has there been a big explosion in separations and in divorces during the pandemic?
There has definitely been an increase in separation and divorces during the pandemic. I mean, unfortunately, with the circumstances that everybody's been faced with, not only has it been condensed to people spending 24/7 with each other, but there's been additional stresses for financial stresses, for stresses on the kids. People have been cranky and frustrated, and it doesn't help relationships for sure.
Okay, and let's say I'll give you an example. The dating sites. Okay, when someone gets divorced, there's this reflex that they almost immediately want to jump into another relationship, and they're going on to dating sites and all that. Are dating sites the perfect place to meet people? I know you probably. I know what your answer is going to be. It all depends, right? But is it a good idea for someone to jump on the dating sites who's just getting divorced, and not finalized, and hasn't healed yet?
Well, if a friend was asking me the question, I would probably answer differently than a client, because a friend, it's nice to say, just see what's out there, get your mind off of the horrible experience you've just gone through. But when I'm speaking to a client and you're looking at something face on, you really want to heal yourself first before you're going to look for an actual relationship. So if you're just looking for fun, or you're looking just to go out and meet people, that's a different story. But you have to feel like you've made yourself full again before you're actually able to give another person your full self for another relationship. So I definitely recommend working on yourself, doing things to fill your self-love bucket, feel good about yourself again, go to the gym, dance, do something that is a hobby of yours that really makes you feel good. And then that way you're giving the best version of yourself to a new partner.
All right, so let's go. Let's travel all the way down to BC, where we have the lovely Chelsea, who's standing by. Chelsea, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. And word has it that you're originally from Montreal.
I lived in Montreal for 13 years. I'm not originally from there. I'm from New Brunswick originally.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself, what your background is. I understand you're also into music. You're a singer as well, right?
I am a singer. It's a very small part of my life at this point. I really love singing for fun, and occasionally we'll do a show, sing a lot in my car, but I'm not, it's not something that I really care to do professionally anymore. It's not something that I am necessarily super devoted to at this point in my life. I've really found so much more pleasure and purpose in what I'm doing for my business and for my work now.
Do you play any musical instruments?
Yeah, I play piano and guitar.
Do you incorporate that into your act as a singer, or is it like just for fun?
I do usually play guitar when I sing, mainly because I haven't had anyone else to accompany me, not because I'm a good guitar player, because I am adequate. I've technically been playing since I was 11, but I haven't been devoted enough to it to actually develop any real skills. I am good enough to accompany myself, and that is about my limit.
We got a great guitar player in the group. Maybe that guitar player is willing to give some classes. Who knows? Through YouTube, Zoom, anything's possible these days.
Anything's possible when you're devoted. At this
Chelsea,
point, I'm not.
Tell us a little bit. Okay, we're talking about divorce right now. Your particular divorce, your breakup, was it very difficult for you to experience your divorce?
I mean, I think pretty much even the most amicable of divorces are difficult, in terms of the fact that no matter how much respect I had for my husband, no matter how much I really hated the fact that I knew that I was hurting him, it's never fun to hurt the feelings, to really deeply hurt somebody that you care about. And he's still the father of my children. And at this point in my life, one of my best friends, we're really on fantastic terms. We're great co-parents. And I had faith all along that we'd be able to get to this place, but it's not something that happened overnight. It took at least a few months, probably about 6 to 8 months, for us to get to a point from the day that I officially asked for a divorce to the point where we could just talk on the phone and be friendly. And it started because he started dating somebody else and he mentioned it to me, and I was like, oh, tell me more. and he was like, well, that depends. Are you going to start sending me the bill, like, for giving me advice? I just said, no, it's fine. Like, if it's weird for you, you totally don't have to. I'm just, I'm happy for you. And so at that point, we started to become friends again, which felt really, really good. But it was really difficult at first. I was very firm in my decision. So I was able to set boundaries in a very kind and loving way and hold my ground, which I think was the rock solid that we both needed to kind of hold us through that process while he navigated everything that he was feeling about it. But I wouldn't say it was easy, but I would say that it was a lot easier than a lot of people have it.
All right. Thank you so much, Chelsea. Now let's give Cristina a chance to express herself. Cristina, thank you so much for being on the show.
Hi, Robert. Thank you for having me.
And it's nice to have someone who's in the also in the music world. And for all of you who have tuned in to Rob's Inner Circle, at one time we had this amazing drummer, Ellie Bertrand. Well, Ellie Bertrand, the drummer in the all-girls rock band Scarlet Sins. Well, tonight, Cristina CANAS, the lead guitarist of Scarlet Sins, is here right with you to share this beautiful evening. Cristina, tell us a little bit about yourself, what your background is. I understand you have a South American background. Were you born in South America?
No, actually, my parents are from Colombia, and they immigrated to Ottawa, Canada in the 70s. So I was born here, first-gen Canadian, and pretty much grew up in a Colombian home. When I stepped out of the home, I was in Canada, but in that house, it was pretty much Colombia. And it was a great upbringing. My dad was really passionate about music. I grew up listening to classical music and opera every single day. My mom brought the disco pop influence into my life. And since I was a young child, I was very interested in both music and just helping people and trying to understand people. I was a very shy, quiet kid, and that really hasn't changed. I can get up on stage in front of thousands of people, but I have to have a new persona to get up and do that. But I still am very much an introvert. In high school, I started playing guitar. I went to university. I did not have the guts to do the music audition to get a music degree. So I took psychology instead, because like I said, that was my other passion growing up, was just talking to people and wanting to help people. So fast forward, I did the band for several years, took a hiatus to get married and have 2 kids. And 2 years ago, I started my spiritual awakening and journey after my husband at the time asked for a divorce. And from the moment he asked for a divorce, I knew that I wanted to come out of it stronger than ever. And so I got to work on day one.
Cristina, we're on the perfect platform right now. We're going to go right back into the divorce. Now that we're here and we're talking about Scarlet Sins, I think it would be fair that you give a quick introduction of who the band members are and what it is that they do. So we know about Ellie Bertrand, who is the drummer in the band. Cristina CANAS is the lead guitarist. How about the bassist and the lead singer? Who are they?
So our lead singer is Sylvia Novinsky, and we have a new bass player, Chella Rhea Harper, and our rhythm guitarist is Monica Julie.
So you're 5 in the band?
Yes, we used to be 4.
Okay, yeah. But that's got to lighten the load on the bassist, because he had to carry all that extra rhythm.
You know what? Chella is so talented. She could literally just be the band on her own. She's so talented. But it is nice to have a backup rhythm guitarist, because before I was doing rhythm and solos at the same time, and it was just a lot of pressure. So now I could just kind of have more fun. And Monica is a solid instrumentalist. Doesn't matter what she picks up. She's amazing. So,
do you play any other instruments?
I am actually, since COVID, I started learning how to play piano. So like Chelsea described, I can play just enough to sing along and have fun.
Okay.
But I've never had one lesson.
Let's go back to Jennifer right now, because Jennifer, unfortunately, she can't stay with us. She has another engagement. She can't stay with us for too long tonight. And thank you very much for making it possible to be with us tonight, Jennifer. I want to ask you, are there elements that become part of a routine from one spouse or another that happens after one or the other leaves the dwelling? Example, they become a sudden stalker. It's like they want to know who they're dating. They want to know what's going on. They're constantly on their tail. What are the elements that turn a sweet person into someone all of a sudden who's like obsessed with knowing exactly what his ex is doing or her ex?
I mean, these are questions that I don't usually specialize in because it's more about psychology and the type of person who will turn to feeling rage or vindictiveness or feeling that they're going to be in a different state. I think that hurt can do a lot to somebody. And, when you romanticize the thought that you're going to be with someone forever and you have plans, we're going to live here, we're going to go there, we're going to have the children grow up, and then that dies, all of a sudden you need to grieve the relationship in a healthy way, because if you don't grieve it in a healthy way, all of a sudden you start to go in a different direction and you start to become very jealous and envious, and you start to possibly do some things that aren't in your normal character because of all the hurt.
Well, anyone who has it, because we heard a lot of times that there's been splits and even divorces, and couples get back together after so many years. Mm-hmm. But if anyone has any hope of reconciling with someone, it isn't with such behavior that he or she is going to win that person back.
That may be true. Yes, absolutely. But I've dealt with several couples that have actually gotten back together after we've had some sessions because they've been able to open the communication, and they start to realize that they truly are saying the same things and want the same things, but they're saying it in a way that the other person doesn't understand it. So when you're able to open the communication and allow people to really hear what the other person is saying and to listen, not to respond, but to understand. Too many people just listen because they want to answer and they want to respond right away instead of letting what they're saying really sink in and try to understand each other. And that's a huge issue.
Okay, so let's say a couple is not on solid ground, is on shaky ground. There's this common myth that a lot of people believe that having children is going to bring the couple back together. But my understanding is, and I guess you're going to approve or disprove this idea of, train of thought that I have, is that if you don't have a solid marriage to start off with, children were not going to bring you together, because actually, even in the strong marriage, they tend to pull you apart. And if your marriage is strong, that's what's going to keep you together. So am I right or wrong with what I'm saying right here?
Well, it all comes down to the expectations, and many people don't know what to expect when children are going to be incorporated into the relationship. So if you think that it's going to be the same dynamic that it was pre-children, then you're in for a rough ride, because children require all of the attention, and you cannot have any more selfish acts, because everything is about the child now. So there has to be things that are established that, if the couple wants to stay strong, that they're going to recognize, okay, there's going to be a lot of lack of sleep. There's going to be a lot of change where it's not going to be about you and me anymore. What could we do to make sure that we stay strong as a couple? And it's about accepting that there is going to be change, and ultimately it can go back to a routine, but in the beginning it's very difficult, and people get very defensive and their guards go up, and it escalates to a level sometimes where you can't return from.
What do you think is it that ruins marriages the most? We know that there's the intimacy part, we know that there's money, we know that there's jealousy, but the pattern that's the most recurring, what is the most damaging to a relationship that leads to divorce?
In my experience, I've seen a lot of issues stem from communication issues. So whether it's somebody isn't expressing how they feel and what they want, or somebody isn't listening to what the other person feels or what they want, or it's just about not being able to express it because you don't feel that you have a voice. And that's why a lot of people need to work on their own selves in order to make a relationship thrive and work, because you can't expect something to be so good if inside yourself you're not strong and you're not feeling enough self-love. You can't give that to somebody else. You can't give what you don't have.
So let's travel back to BC, home of the kokanee beer, SHELSEY. How difficult was it for you? Because you knew that you were going to announce a divorce to your husband. and you knew it was going to be a very sensitive issue. How did you manage to muster up that courage? Because you were telling me at one point that time had come. You had to do it there. You knew it inside of you. How did you get there?
Well, it was in August when I really came to the certainty that I needed. And so I was planning on waiting until the kids went back to school in September, so that, because my husband and I both work from home, just now different homes. But I wanted him to have the days where the kids are not in the house, to have those hours where neither one of us have to think about what the kids need or anything. So my plan was to wait till the kids went back to school so that he would have a little bit more space to process. As it turned out, on August 24th, 2019, I got this very, very clear intuitive signal that said, it has to be right now. And I was like, today, God? And I was like, yes, today. And I'm like, so that night after my kids went to bed, my husband and I were sitting there watching TV, and the show ended. The credits were rolling, and I was just sitting there like a ton of bricks on the couch. And I let out this big, long sigh, like, because I knew that it was time. And he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No." And he just sat and listened. He didn't say anything. He's a good listener that way in general. And it probably took me about 5 full minutes. It felt like an eternity, but it took me several minutes at least. And I just kept repeating in my head, just say it. Just say the words. Just spit it out. Just say it. And it took me several minutes to finally just say the words, "I want a divorce." And I mean, obviously he was devastated. In hindsight, he would tell you that he saw it coming, but he was in denial. But in the moment, he felt completely blindsided. He felt heartbroken. He was feeling everything, which is, nothing less than what I expected. And so I pulled a mattress into my office that night and slept in there to just give him some space and give myself some space. But I really just had to sit there and literally will myself to say the words, because I knew that once I said those words, there was no taking it back. I knew that I would be setting into motion a chain of events that I couldn't undo. And so I was very aware of that when I was about to say the words. And so I'm really proud of how I handled it. And of course he didn't react well. He was heartbroken. That's just any heartbroken person would have reacted at least the way that he did, if not worse. So I just knew that I had started the storm and I was going to have to weather it.
All right. I have a question for all three of you. I would like for each and every one of you to answer the question. Let's start off with Jennifer, because she's got the least time left over here with us. Jennifer, why is it that a couple is together 20 years, they're dating, they're living together, all of a sudden they get married and it doesn't take 2 years, they get divorced? I mean, it's the same people, same thing, nothing changed, but they got married, all of a sudden they get divorced after 2 years. And this is a pattern that I have seen so many times. So why do you think that happens?
Well, I think traditionally people didn't get divorced as often, and now it's become more of the thing that everyone just feels that they can do easily if something's not working. That's not to say that they don't try, but it's just easier to go down that path. People that stay together sometimes for 20 years plus, and you ask them, how come you finally decided to get separated? Is it just now? Have things been not going well lately? And they say, no, I've been unhappy for a very long time. The issue is that a lot of people will want to stay together for the children. And this is something that I hear all the time. And it saddens me really, because when children grow up in a home where they don't see the role model of love, and they don't see the role model of how their parents should be treating each other, that's what they're going to grow up thinking is the right way to act. that's how they are going to grow up thinking that they should be towards a partner and how a partner should treat them. So unfortunately, when their parents are thinking they're doing the right thing by their children by staying together and sucking it up and maybe sleeping in separate bedrooms and vacationing separately, whatever they're doing, they're not setting a good role model for their children. And the ones that do get divorced earlier on when the children are young and they do have separate homes, they have the potential to be happy, to recouple with someone who does make them happy. That would be a way better position for the children to grow up in, because now they're seeing what love should actually look like and how people should actually be treating each other. So it's not to say that the people who are staying in the relationship for 20 years are doing the better choice, or the people who are breaking up after 2 years are doing the better choice. I suggest just to stay true to yourself and be happy, because the happiness that you feel is what is going to be let out in energy, in the way that you smile, in the way that you're holding yourself together every day. And your children feed off of that. And it's something that you can't fake. So.
Well, thank you for a very profound answer, Jennifer. That was very concise, very complete.
Thank
Cristina.
you. Sorry, before you go on, I just have to gracefully opt out here, but thank you guys so much, and I appreciate it. And bye, everyone.
Thank you, Jennifer, for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Good evening. Cristina, okay. What a great addition to the show tonight, Jennifer. She just made the show all that much better, along with you too. I'm just loving the show tonight. This is great. I can relate to this myself. I can probably share part of my experience with you a little later on, but I do want to finish off with a question. Cristina, after 20 years, a couple's together. This is an example. They get married. 2 years into the relationship, 2 years into the marriage, it's over. Why? Why does this happen?
Well, in my experience, I was with my ex-partner for 15 years. And we were married only for the last 2.5 years. So that actually happened to me.
There you go.
So, but really, what is marriage, right? Essentially, he moved in after we had known each other for 3 months. So we were basically married from the beginning. We've been building a life together for the entire time. So I don't think it's the fact that you get married and then all of a sudden everything falls apart. I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think a lot of it is just being complacent and being happy and just settling. I am so grateful for him. Unlike Chelsea, he asked me for a divorce, and it was really brave of him to do that because he knew that he was going to break my heart. He probably went through his own pain himself, but now I look at it like he did this for us. He wasn't happy. I was in denial that I wasn't happy. But, because of my childhood trauma with going through my parents' divorce, I didn't want my kids to go through that. So I would have clung to that relationship no matter how bad it was for me, just for my kids. So looking back, I see that, a lot of people do stay together for the kids. And I like Jennifer said, your kids will grow up repeating those patterns. So, what's better, them to go through the heartbreak of their parents divorcing and then seeing their parents in an actual, real, true love relationship. I think that is healthier in the end for children. So my motivation now is just to be the best role model possible for my children. And so having a great co-parenting relationship with my ex, it has been key in ensuring my children's happiness.
Wow, what a beautiful answer. That was very deep as well. Fantastic. Chelsea, how about you? After 20 years, a couple is together, they're living together, and then all of a sudden they get married and wham, it's over. What's your take on it? Why do you think relationships end after they get married after so long?
In addition to all the reasons that Jennifer and Cristina said, I think those are definitely very common and valid reasons. In addition to that, I've got a couple of theories. That's not what happened with me. My husband and I got married. We were married within 2 years of meeting. We got married pretty quickly. But I do. And I had a conversation about this with a man that I was talking to recently, because he asked a similar question, and he said she became a different person after we got married. Why did that? He said we were together for 10 years, and then we got married, and it's like she became a different person. And the thing, I mean, not to get too deep into psychology and DNA and all that stuff. But women typically, because of we all have this inner cave woman who is hardwired to secure a protector. Like, we just want to secure a protector from the saber-toothed tiger that could attack at any moment. And so a lot of women really struggle to be completely authentic and completely themselves. And then once they've kind of secured their protector, the papers signed, sometimes that's when they kind of let down the facade. And sometimes that's very jarring for a relationship. Another theory that could potentially be happening a lot, and not potentially, I'm like certain that this is happening a lot, is that people think that marriage is going to fix a relationship that's kind of lagging and, you know, lacking excitement, lacking chemistry, lacking attraction. They're like, oh, it's not like it was in the beginning. Let's get married. It's kind of being used as a drug, as an adrenaline hit. And when they kind of have to face the reality that the marriage didn't actually change anything, unfortunately, that's when some people decide to, well, maybe kids will fix it. And they bring kids in to try to fix the relationship, which generally does not pan out very well. But also, they have to realize over time that they're still facing the same problems, that all the same problems are still there. And if a relationship was boring or lacked attraction before a wedding, unless you actually do something about that, then it's not going to change anything after the wedding. You might get a temporary little boost and that'll be it.
That's a very interesting take and very deep. And that's a great perspective you brought into the conversation. Very interesting. Cristina, okay. You're 3 months into a relationship. Your boyfriend moves in. Would you do it again today? With a bit of thinking it over, going back over it? Do you find it may have been too fast to have someone move in after 3 months? And if it were to be done again today, would you do it again?
Well, let me preface this by saying that I have the utmost respect for my ex. He's the father of my children, and I'm glad I chose him. He's been a great dad. If I were to meet him today, he wouldn't be somebody I'd be attracted to. When I met him that previous year, I had gone through 2 very traumatic events, and I was not at my best. And I think when you asked Jennifer the question about people attracting each other, to me, I really believe that we, on an energetic, spiritual level, we attract people who are going to trigger the childhood wounds within us that we haven't healed yet. And so in my case, I attracted somebody that was going to trigger all of those wounds in me in order for me to heal. So for me, right? So would I do it again? No, not with not with him. But that's not to say that like that's a wrong thing to do. I think every situation is different. There are some people that will get married after 2 weeks and they're together for 60 years. So you never know. And I think it's just a matter of where you are at when you meet somebody. Like, are you in a healing place? Are you, still struggling with things from the past? Are you still having like a lot of resentment and anger towards your ex? I really believe, and like Jennifer said, that like those are all important things to heal, and it's important to take time in between relationships to really reflect and become a better version of yourself before you embark on a new adventure with somebody else.
And Chelsea, how about yourself? After 2 years, you got married. With a little bit backing up into time, do you find that getting married 2 years into a relationship is a little too quick? And again, if it was to be done again today, would you do it all over again? Not necessarily with the same person, any relationship.
Yeah. So, 2 years, it was a very good timeline. The timeline definitely wasn't the problem. And, as far as moving in with someone after 3 months, the thing is there are people who successfully do that. My parents, my mom and my, technically my stepdad, but he's basically my dad too. They merged our families within 2 weeks of meeting when I was 5, and they're still together and happy over 30 years later. So the thing is it can work. However, and this is a big however, something that I teach my clients a lot, because I'm a feminine magnetism coach, but I also I teach my clients a lot about relationships, about dating, about that sort of thing. And I truly believe that pacing a relationship is your best friend. And I see a lot of people, and I've made the same mistake, so there's no high horse here, but getting into a relationship and going really fast and hard because of chemistry and, oh my gosh, I never felt this way before, and all of this. Getting into a relationship and literally giving your heart and tying your life to a partner that you don't actually really know yet. And sometimes we feel like we know them, and I totally understand that. However, going really fast puts you at serious risk for getting caught up in the intimacy and the chemistry with and forgetting about the alignment and the compatibility of long term. So I really teach my clients to, in general, and I've had clients, I have a client who just got engaged last week, who they moved in together within a few months, and it's been a year and they're engaged and they're amazing. There are exceptions. Generally, I recommend getting to know someone and seeing how they show up. How are they with conflict? How are they with their family? How are they with money? How are they? What's their vision for their life? There's a lot of things that you can't really see an accurate picture of who they are in a super short period of time. So when you allow the relationship to unfold more slowly, first of all, I find it more delicious to just date and allow to really love that process of getting to know someone. What's the rush anyway? But also you make sure that codependency is not the driving factor here. You get to know who someone is over time, and who someone is after 3 to 6 months may be very different than who they are after 2 weeks. So I am a big fan of allowing it to unfold slowly and not even committing to exclusivity at first. I wouldn't even commit to exclusivity within the first couple of months. So let alone moving in together.
And when you mean committing to exclusivity, does that mean hey, you know what? I'm going to go out with so-and-so tonight. I'm going to go have a drink with them. I'm going to go have supper, whatever. I'm going to go to the disco. I have a dance, whatever. Is that what you mean? It's don't give me this jealous stuff because, hey, I'm not committed to you. We're not exclusive. Is that what you mean? Not committed exclusively?
I recommend getting to know multiple people. If the goal is a relationship, the goal is to find your person. If the goal is to find the person you're meant to spend your life with, it doesn't actually make sense to start talking with somebody and as soon as you go on one date, you are cutting off all other options. You don't even know this person yet, and you're giving your heart. Your heart is your most precious, it's the most precious thing that you own in this lifetime, and it doesn't make sense to invest it in somebody that you don't know yet. So be open to them, get to know them. And this doesn't necessarily mean being sexually active with them. People have differing views on that, and that's okay. But getting to know them over a period of time and deciding, is this a person that I've got a real bond with, or is this just somebody that we've got some good chemistry, and that's dating like teenagers. We're not teenagers anymore.
Cristina, you were telling me off stage, and you both agreed that you were open, to expose, to expose yourself, expose your story. Tell us, you said that you found out, you had a hunch that your husband was seeing someone else while you were married. And it didn't take too long for your women instinct that kicked in, and you actually went down to the source, and within faster than any CIA agent, you figured out that there was something going on. So can you share with us what it is that happened exactly, and how you were led to believe that there was someone else?
That's a very good question. Well, let me just say that type of energy where you start digging, I caution anybody who wants to do that. You're going to find something and you're not going to like it. So, I mean, for me, it made me feel good, made me I figured it, but it was heartbreaking. And, for him, the marriage was over for a long, long time. So he doesn't view it as the same situation as I do. It was tough. It was tough because I wasn't ready to let go of the relationship. So it was really more about a journey of accepting that he had a new partner. And I think the other part that I had struggled with was that this woman would be helping to raise my children. And that was a huge motivator in healing and forgiving my ex, and even forgiving her, because I wanted our children to have a very happy life, whether they were at their dad's or my place. And so that was my motivation. So from day one, I just tried my best to just view them positively. It was very, very difficult, but I knew that by forgiving somebody for what they did for you, not to you, you can really find peace in that. And so it was more about me letting go of any anger or resentment and finding my own peace. But it was a tough situation.
Well, I'm gonna share something with you, a little personal myself, and I don't mind. I remember when my wife at the time had told me that particular evening, and I still remember the date, the 3rd of November, 2018. We're sitting down, and we were at a friend's house, and she slowly, a bit like Chelsea, like took that deep breath and just went out and said, "You know what? I think it'd be best that we get separated." She didn't say divorce, whatever.
House?
At a friend's house, and she was like under the influence. She was, a little bit inebriated. Anyways, I guess that's how, that's what gave her the courage to say it. So she slept there that evening, and the next day she came home and all that. And then I'm there like I'm devastated because I didn't see it coming because my marriage was troubled for 5 years anyway. So I did see it coming somehow. Wasn't all that much shock, but I was still in shock. It's like, this is it. It's over. And I remember telling her specifically, I go, listen, it's going to sound like the most stupid question, but I've never been divorced before, and I don't know. I told her, listen, I've never been divorced before. I'm going to ask you a stupid question. Does that mean we still get to sleep in the same bed tonight? But we're sleeping in the same bed for a while before we actually, after a while I said, hey, this is ridiculous. Like, what am I doing here? I think we probably spent like 2 months sleeping in the same bed, like really apart. Is this something that either you, Cristina, or, as Chelsea, you said the same night you moved out
no,
onto
but
your
I
own?
didn't stay that way though. Yeah, we did. Whoops, we did have to do that. I just kicked my tripod. No, that first night I did sleep in my office, but then we had the conversation of like, what are we going to tell the kids? And so we decided, okay, so we're not ready to talk to the kids about this just yet until we know what the next steps are. So, I've got this big king size bed. So
Same here.
We're like, okay, let's just we'll just sleep at opposite ends. And he ended up going back to Montreal for about a month after a few days because he wanted to be around family and his cousins and wanted some to process. So for that month, obviously it wasn't an issue. But then when he came back, and between the time that he came back and when he found another friends to stay at, there was a couple of weeks there where we were sleeping in the same bed, and it was super awkward. And I generally just tried to take a nice long bath every night and hope that he was asleep by the time that I got back. And sometimes that was the case and sometimes it wasn't. But I mean, there was never I never had to set any physical boundaries or anything. Like, we both understood what was what there. So yeah, it was awkward though.
And how about you, Cristina? Were you faced with that awkward situation? Like, what do we do? Is that we still sleeping in the same bed here? King size bed? Is it something you experienced yourself?
Well, thank God for the king size bed. Yeah, had to deal with that. He did move out briefly for a little bit near the beginning, just shortly after he had asked for a divorce. But for financial reasons, we had to stay together under the same roof. So, but yeah, no, it was really difficult. Yeah.
Do you think in a relationship, couples that are married, do you think that ultimatums are effective? You say, you know what, you better stop drinking, or you know what, this is it. So, Chelsea, I guess you have your mindset on a big fat no. Can you elaborate? Why?
Yeah, well, because I mean, do you respond well to ultimatums? I don't. I don't. I mean, the thing is that when you issue an ultimatum, the problem is, or any demands whatsoever, when you issue a request or a desire in the form of an ultimatum or a demand, on the other end of that, the other person has the choice to either submit to it, and it feels like a really gross energy. You feel about 2 inches tall. Like it feels like it doesn't feel good to submit to someone's demand, or you rebel against it. Those are basically your choices. It's no, like when you issue an ultimatum to somebody or you issue a demand, you completely cut off the possibility of them deciding that this is really what's best for the relationship and this is what I want to do and I care about this. Like you completely destroy that possibility when you issue an ultimatum. So no to ultimatum.
Okay. And I have a particular question for you, Cristina.
I think it's important to set boundaries in a healthy and loving way. But ultimatum, I mean, the word itself just kind of connotates like
kind of harsh.
Yeah, correct. Right. So you're never going to get anywhere with that kind of energy. But, you know, if somebody was approaching their partner with unconditional love and support and setting a boundary and saying like, I can't live with this anymore. I love you. I support you. I want the best for you. And I see that you're hurting yourself by doing this or whatever. And I can't live with that anymore. Like if you say it like in a loving way, you can't go wrong because you're sending up
how it's hurting me. You know,
Yeah.
if we're talking about an issue of alcoholism, for example, like it's like I feel really hurt by this. I feel scared. I feel like when you that vulnerability cannot be underestimated. Like if I say to you, I feel really scared that you're not going to be around for our kids. I feel really, I feel unsafe with you when you drink. Because when you raise your voice, I feel like I have to hide. I feel scared. Do you think that that's going to be more effective, or get sober or I'm leaving?
Right.
Like, you know, if in my opinion, if a partner, in my case, in a man, like if a man doesn't respond to my vulnerability, to my heart, he's not the right man for me.
That's true. It's very interesting. Of course, you know, it's always a relationship in itself is sharing. It's like 1 + 1 mathematically equals 2, but 1 + 1 in a relationship actually equals 1, because it's like the significant other, the better half. It's half and half, and you form one with that. So that's why a couple becomes connected. Both halves getting together becomes one. And if one is not respecting the other, that's a premise for a failure right there. So, Cristina, you had something very interesting to say about your relationship when you saw that, you knew about the other woman and all that, and all of a sudden you just got this big jolt of energy, said, I'm winning the man back. You were on a mission. You wanted to win him back. So that was your mission. So we all know how it turned out, but with that train of thought in your mind, how exactly were you going about this? What were you doing to say, I want to win this man back? What were you doing exactly?
Well, it was part extreme ownership of the situation and part acceptance, gratitude, and appreciation for him and what he did for me. So, it started off with really going into my childhood trauma and trying to figure out how that trauma reflected in all the relationships around me and in all the struggles that I had. I really took a deep look into the programming that my parents instilled in me, also societal programming, and how that affected the way I viewed men in general and how I viewed relationships and how they were supposed to work. So I spent a lot of time just unraveling all of my beliefs and deciding, which ones worked for me, which ones served me well, and putting it back together. In terms of the spiritual quantum physics world that I kind of jumped into, I learned about energy. I learned about our auric fields. I learned about how subconsciously we are creating our reality. And it's living just like we're just kind of emotions. All of our traumas from childhood that are unhealed are actually putting out energy that is attracting people to trigger that so that you can heal it, because our soul just wants to become the best, most authentic version of itself. So when there's trauma hanging on to you energetically, it really weighs you down. So like the way I view it is that everything that's in your reality is just a projection of your subconscious beliefs. So I really went into like extreme ownership and just trying to figure out like what was wrong with me. And then by the end of it, I realized that the key was self-love. I had not been loving myself. I had not been asking for my emotional needs to be met. I had not been focusing on my passions and things that made me happy. I had put everybody else first except for myself. And so one day I just, the last boundary was crossed for me. And I just, grew a pair and stood up and set the boundary. And I felt, I was not one of those people who really goes after conflict. I kind of avoidant of that. But now that I'm much stronger, and in that moment, I felt so calm and peaceful because I was speaking my truth, and I learned something so valuable that day. I just, I spoke my piece. I said how I viewed myself, my value and my worth, and it felt like somebody had placed a crown on my head, and I became a queen in that moment. And I never regret it. I never looked back after that. After that, I was ready to really heal and let him go. It took about 9 months to get there after doing all the work every single day up until that day. So, it was a long process, but well worth it.
And how has your experience, Cristina, how has your experience with divorce helped you in terms of creativity and writing your music? Has it had an influence on you?
Oh, yeah, in so many ways. Well, first of all, it was really cathartic, just really healing to be able to get that energy out. I started writing a lot about my spiritual experiences. And I just became motivated to help other people. And one of those ways is through my songwriting. So what I started doing was writing songs for people who were going through hard times. And I became really good at channeling how they felt without even them telling me. So I write songs for people, write songs about my spiritual journey and my healing. And basically the songs are literally instructions on how to do what I did. I even with Scarlet Sins, I even put in an application for a grant with the Ontario Arts Council, which we got. And my whole premise was we're writing an album right now that is going to be about self-empowerment, unconditional love, forgiveness, compassion, unity, and all the positive things that bring a lot of good energy into your life. So, yeah.
Chelsea, we have little time left. My God, this hour has just gone by. I feel like this hour has 22 minutes, the CBC show. I mean, it's like unreal how time really flies here. Yeah. Chelsea, with the little time we have left, can you talk to us a little bit in more elaborate form about feminine magnetism, a little bit more in depth what it is that you do with the feminine magnetism?
Yeah, so it's really just an energy. And it really comes down to if you think of the energy of a woman who just walks into the room and her energy precedes her. And she's the woman who she takes up a lot of space in the room, not because she's loud and rambunctious, but because she has presence. And she, people notice her, they see her, and she's captivating, and she's open, and she's, inspired by the world around her. She's just got that energy. And I help women tap into that energy for every area of their life. I have programs on parenting. I have programs on like manifesting and money and business and dating and relationships. Like, it's how to apply that energy in all areas of your life to really draw in, because people feel so drawn to a woman like that. And the thing is, it takes a lot of courage to be a woman like that, because it's actually really hard to just be seen and be open and vulnerable and experience the world around you that powerfully. and knowing that people notice you. It's actually really difficult. So that's what I help people do. And it tends to translate to a lot of relationship coaching and business coaching as well.
Cristina, to finish off, I understand that Scarlet Sins, the all-female Canadian heavy metal band with a fifth member added to the band, is now working on a new album. Is that correct?
That's right. I actually, because of the pandemic, I had to invest in some recording gear, so I'm doing it myself. It's a lot of work. But I have some good people that are helping me out with, the technical stuff. And, Rich Chicky, our producer, has been super helpful in setting me up. So I will become, I guess I had audio engineering in my list of accomplishments. But yeah, working on the album, it's going to be all about love, compassion, unity, anything to help people. We're really bringing a motherly love to this album. Just, wanting to just embrace our flock and just give them as much love as we can.
So I have a hunch that you got at least 2 amazing ballads on that album. Is that right?
At least. I'm a sucker for ballads, and I'm a romantic at heart, and I fall in love from afar. That's me. I write love songs all the time. You probably will only hear 2 on the album at most. I'll try. But I've got 20 other songs like that.
And does your album have a name?
No, not yet. But we are basing it on kind of the hero's journey of the tarot cards, the major arcana. I have a song called The Fool, The Empress. The songs are named after the different major arcana cards in the tarot deck. So maybe hero's journey, who knows? I don't know. But it's basically, all our life experiences over the last few years and our struggles and overcoming them.
To close off, is there any slight possibility with both of your amazing talents getting together, Chelsea as a singer, Cristina as a member of the rock band, is there any possibility that there may be a collaborative effort up in the air between Chelsea and Scarlet Sins?
Chelsea just has to say yes, and I'll send her a song.
I have plenty on my plate at the moment, but it is so good to have the connection and know that if I have the time and space to create something like that you never know what could come out.
There you go. Well, listen, girls, it's been fantastic. Congratulations to you both. Jennifer's not here to hear this live, but congratulations as well to Jennifer for all the amazing work that she's been doing and helping out people. It's just amazing what all you 3 girls are doing respectively. Congratulations to you both. Good luck on your album, Cristina. Chelsea, good luck on all of your endeavors. And may this podcast be a blessing and also an inspiration to anyone out there going through some difficult times. So, Cristina and Chelsea, can I ask you to stay behind the scenes, because we're going to be closing off the show and we're going to have our meet and greet party right after the closing.
Okay.
So you girls going to stick around?
For sure.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We'll be with you in a few moments. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Our 3 guests tonight. One of them had to leave early. Jennifer ATERNINO, Chelsea Jarvis, and Cristina CANAS. 3 amazing guests tonight on our show. And I thank you so much to each and every one of you for tuning in to what was an absolutely exciting and amazing show. Stay tuned. This upcoming Wednesday, we got Noon Hour Out of the Box with myself, co-hosting with Esther Berzinski. We have another interesting show coming up, and we won't tell you what the subject is. It's going to be a surprise. So just incite you to tune in. It's going to be on the Roberts D'Alessio's personal Facebook page, the Bobby Short Shorts YouTube channel, and on Esther's Breeze on YouTube. That's this upcoming Wednesday at noon. You don't want to miss that show. Well, next week, same time, same place, same reason, we have another amazing guest. It is local Montreal podcaster, a good friend of mine, Mr. Luigi Costanza, who hosts 2 podcasts, Agree to Disagree and 3 Men and a Podcast. Until then, folks, this is Robert D'Alessio, the host of Rob's Inner Circle, bidding good night and thank you for tuning in. Have an amazing week, and God bless you all. Ciao. On tonight's show, we have not 1,